Hey guys, welcome back to Gatsu Gaming. Today I'm going to take you on a little trip on the beta server. And by a little trip on the beta server, I mean we're going to take a look at Warlock, and we're going to see exactly what makes it tick right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just click Enter World, and let's take a peek at everyone's favorite class. So right now in beta, one, it's nighttime. Check it out. Looks really sweet. So right now I've actually been playing a lot of Destro. Most people are playing either Demonology or Destro. Apparently Affliction, according to a lot of places, is a potato. Take that as you will. And also kind of take it with a grain of salt. Because even though it's not as strong as Destruction and Demonology, Affliction still has its place for sure. One of the biggest things to keep in mind, especially whenever you're talking about something that's in development like beta, is that everything can and it's likely will change. Especially when you're talking about a class that's actually received two pretty sizable revamps. So first things first. Like I said, I've been playing Destro, and ignore these wonderful Lua errors. They've done a little bit of changing to the UI here, and unfortunately Elb hasn't caught up just yet, but they're on it. So you'll see here there's actually PvP talents. We won't be going over those today, because we really don't need them right now, and I don't really PvP, so I wouldn't be able to give you accurate feedback on them anyway. So right now with Destruction, we have a couple of options. We have Flashover, which makes Conflagrate. Sure. Makes it deal 10% increased damage, and gives you an additional charge of Backdraft. What that basically does is gives you an extra speed up cast on either your Incinerate, your Immolate, or your Chaos Bolt. It's incredibly useful for Chaos Bolt, because Chaos Bolt has a really long cast time. You can see there it's 2.68 seconds, and everything is affected by Haste. Haste is still the best stat for Destro, as far as I can tell right now. Now the other option, of course, is Eradication, which is really popular on live. Mainly because Chaos Bolt gives the 10% damage taken debuff to the target for 7 seconds. There's a lot of combos involved with that. Most of the time right now people are comboing Eradication with Channel Demon Fire, which is your 100 row talent, to get a ton of damage out of that. And while it's definitely the way to go in some cases, with the level of haste we have right now, I think Flashover is just going to be a little bit stronger for the moment. When we get back to Legion levels of stats, if we even do, Eradication may be the go-to. Right now, though, Soulfire is unfortunately pretty useless. While Soulfire looks really cool, it's just a huge fireball, it unfortunately has a 3.57 second cast time, which of course is affected by haste. I think it starts out at 4 seconds, I could be wrong. I haven't taken off all my gear yet to look. But basically it's this super slow, lumbering cast. I believe it's affected by our Conflagrate stacks, our Backdraft. But unfortunately it just doesn't seem to do a whole lot. And again, I think that's just stats. So right now I said, Flashover is probably the go-to, and it might stay that way for quite a bit. On the level 30 side though, we've got Reverse Entropy. Reverse Entropy, your spells have a chance to grant you 15% haste rate seconds. Right now at the level of stats we have, this is incredible. It procs insanely often on AoE, and every single Incinerate you throw out has a chance to proc it, so if you're AoEing with this, it's incredibly strong. Internal Combustion, it's actually not a talent I'm used to playing with. I believe this does sit on live as well right now. Chaos Bolt consumes up to 5 seconds of Immolate's damage over time effect. Oh no, it's a different one on live, never mind. So what this does is this makes you have to refresh Immolate a little bit more, but it also speeds up your damage. So this is probably really good for burst. I'm not sure when I would use it right now, but I also haven't played with it too much. I'll have to do some testing here in the next day or two and see how that works out, because I'm just now starting to delve into Destruction. Shadowburn is still that kind of execute, sort of. I really enjoyed the previous design where it was literally an execute back in, I believe it was Mista Pandaria. This definitely still has a place right now. I just haven't seen a point where I want this over reverse entropy for that 15% haste, because our stats are so low early on. While I've been running dungeons, I've actually found myself using Dark Pact as opposed to Demon Skin, just because of the amount of HP, well, effective HP I get from Dark Pact. Dark Pact takes 20% of your HP and then gives you 250% of that health for 20 seconds. You can use it while you're being stunned, while you're, literally any CC effect, you can pop it and save yourself. It's incredibly powerful right now because of how much it gives you. Because of our HP totals, Demon Skin just doesn't feel that good right now. It's still okay, but I think Dark Pact is probably the better pick right now, just because you have some control over it. Burning Rush, of course, is your movement speed if you want it. It's really good. It's really good when you can use it. For most Mythics, though, I have been running Dark Pact because I haven't found myself lagging behind too badly. Level 60 is our AoE row. We have Cataclysm here. Calls forth a Cataclysm at the target, dealing some Shadow Flame damage to all enemies within 8 yards and afflicting them with Immolate. If you're going to have a ton of huge AoE pools, this may be the way to go. Especially because this comboed with Channel Demon Flame, are you sensing a pattern, can be incredibly powerful. It's not one that I'm using very often just because it is kind of niche, and it's not really what I'm after personally. However, I know some people that have been using it here in beta, and they're doing some incredible numbers with it, so we'll have to watch that one for a bit. Fire and Brimstone is kind of the go-to most of the time, just because it's passive, you don't have to worry about it. Just makes your Incinerate naturally cleave. Now this actually does have some problems in Mythic Plus and certain other dungeons, before you get to Mythic Plus, of course, where unfortunately it'll pull things through walls right now, as will a lot of other AoBs. But of course it's beta, so you're going to have those goofy things happen. Fire and Brimstone, I believe, on live currently, does pretty much the same thing. It might actually be the same numbers exactly. It's just typically used for, I believe it's 3 targets and above. It's still pretty good even if it's just on 2 targets. Obviously on a single target it does absolutely nothing. But it is good to have, especially if you're going to have consistent adds and you just want some passive cleave. Inferno has actually not impressed me at all. I haven't run into a situation where I'm really casting Rain of Fire outside of a couple of situations. Of course, I also run Fire and Brimstone all the time, so I really wouldn't have much of a use for this right now. Inferno, though, is really good if you're going to have sustained AoE. You can get some incredibly powerful ramp up there and potentially have multiple rains up at the same time. Now on the 75 tier here, we actually have our CC slash well, it's not even really mobility. We'll call this our survivability row, sort of. Utility. We'll go with utility. Dark Fury lowers the cooldown of Shadow Fury by 15 seconds. Shadow Fury, of course, is the AoE stun we have yet again. It's an 8-yard AoE stun. 1 minute cooldown normally. With Dark Fury, it goes down to 45. It is a 3-second AoE stun, and it does its job. I'm currently using Mortal Coil just because I found myself needing a little bit of extra healing, because healing is really tight right now. But of course, guarantee you in a Mythic Plus setting with experienced healers and coordination, you'll probably be running Dark Fury. Just because there has been so much changeover with the type of CC you have, especially AoE CC. So I think we'll see a lot more people running Dark Fury than anything else. There's always going to be situations where we can use Demonic Circle, and I'm glad to see it hasn't gone anywhere. Now, our next row here, we have Roaring Blaze. Conflag burns the target for additional damage over 6 seconds. And then we have Grimoire Supremacy, which has changed. This now has it that whenever you have an Infernal active, every soul shard you spend increases the damage of your Chaos Bolt by 8%. So it's a little different than live. Obviously, we don't have the constant hulking demon by our side anymore. But it makes your Infernal even stronger cooldown. I'm assuming that this is probably our single target. This is ideally, I think, our single target talent. It's been really effective in Mythic Dungeons I've been running, just because I can spend so many shards on AoE. I mean, it's 3 per for Rain of Fire. So if I'm spending those, that's 8 times 3. So that's, what, 24% extra Chaos Bolt damage? Chaos Bolt hits like a freight train. So as you can imagine, it gets pretty crazy. Unfortunately, it doesn't help on AoE because it's just for Chaos Bolt, but whenever you're going and you're AoEing during your Infernal, or even if you're just spending Chaos Bolts, it's going to ramp up that damage pretty quick. And Grimoire's Sacrifice has hilariously been very strong. I didn't expect it to actually be that good, but it's turned out to be one of the better talents when I've been running Mythics recently. I'm not a huge fan of my interrupt being on the GCD, because that's how it is at the moment for Warlock, but it could be significantly worse. At least I know if I'm next in the interrupt rotation, I just have to make sure that I'm not casting at the start of the mob's cast. So watching timers is going to be quite important. Now on our last row here, things have changed slightly. We now have Soul Conduit down here in the left. Soul Conduit is still the same. Every soul shard you spend is 15% chance to be refunded. Pretty boring. Still strong though. Channel Demon Fire is still very good on single target, even though it's primarily an AoE ability. But it's just a really strong ability in general. It's only 1500 mana. It is affected by haste for the cooldown, and it does phenomenal damage when paired with Cataclysm, or even whenever you're just, tabbing and immolating. So it does a ton of damage. Dark Soul is what our, I think it was Dark Pact? I believe it was called Dark Pact on live. It's literally that, just renamed. So it infuses your soul with unstable power, increasing your crit strike chance by 30% for 20 seconds. This here would definitely be, I think, our ideal single target spell at the beginning, whenever we're still gearing up, because having an extra 30% crit would put us way up there damage-wise, especially since our crit rate is notoriously low early on. Now I'm going to show you my stats here, just because I want to make sure everyone is aware of what stats are at the moment. I've been gearing primarily Haste Mastery, because I believe that's what Demonology really wants, is Haste and Mastery. Haste, of course, for summons and spell cast speed, and of course Mastery because of demon damage. So you'll notice my Mastery stat is really high. It actually isn't an insane amount of stats. I have 928 Mastery, 821 Haste, about 400 crit, and I have 83 versatility. These numbers might shock you, but there was a stat squish, obviously. As you can see here, I'm item level 323. Now my weapon isn't all that great. I'm sitting with just a normal mode weapon, which is item level 310. It is crit mastery, which is fine. Any weapon is fine right now. It's just a matter of getting item level early on. The Azurite pieces don't actually have any secondaries on them at all, which is fine. They really don't need them, because their primary thing you're looking for in them, of course, is those Azurite traits. Now this is a temporary user interface, as you can see here. I know some people have seen it elsewhere, but just want to make sure people do see that big red text. You can actually only take the talents specifically for your specialization when you're looking at these. Right now I took Meticulous Scheming. This one's actually pretty neat. Makes your spells have a chance to grant you Meticulous Scheming, surprise surprise, for 8 seconds, which transforms into Seize the Moment after you cast 3 different spells, granting you 224 haste for 20 seconds. This is sort of like an unused trinket almost. It's been very strong, and 224 haste, that's over a quarter of what I have haste-wise. So it is a significant jump, and it's actually been very, very strong for me. My damage went up significantly in quite a few places, just from having that proc. Heavy Rain, when your Rain of Fire deals damage to 3 or more targets, you gain 311 haste for 8 seconds. This is just the Destruction specific one. It's okay, if you know you're going to be using Rain of Fire quite a bit, then it's excellent. But of course only whenever you use 3 or more targets, which is why I'm running with Meticulous Scheming. I want it to be effective for me, regardless of what spec I'm playing right now, because right now in beta I can reset these using a vendor, sort of. Actually, I'll take you to him here while I talk about this a little bit more. So there is a vendor here in Borealis. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the city here. This is our bank, which you can see has no walls right now. This is our banker. But they've done some major changes to the city here, if people saw any of my videos before where I was wandering around the city. The biggest thing to keep in mind about Destro is that its role in general is basically just to deal burst damage. Its sustained is okay, but its power is in its burst potential. So over here is this guy here, you should be able to reforge these. It right now doesn't look like you can, because it doesn't look like he's actually fully implemented yet. But he is here, and he wants me to reforge it. So it looks like that's coming in a future build. Darn, I thought it was actually here. I could have sworn it was working earlier. They may have taken it off. It could have been glitched. But the neck actually did get upgraded quite a bit. It wasn't as strong before. I think actually originally at like level 8 it was like 287. It was getting like no levels at all. It was terribly slow to level up. They sped that up significantly, and we actually now have no versatility on it, but they gave us our primary stat and stamina on it as well, which was a welcome surprise with this build. So right now that's all I have for you for Destruction, and I'll be back in a little bit, hopefully in the next day or so, with a little bit more information on Demonology, and eventually I will do a video about Affliction, but Affliction, like I said, is kind of a lame duck at the moment. It isn't stellar, but it definitely isn't terrible either. So we will catch you next time.